One of the most well-known adult basketball players and sports scientists hurt his heel last month, right before his recent tryout for the TBT. While I was having a conversation with him about a week after his injury, he asked me for my advice. And so here's what I told Max Schmarzo with Strong by Science and why most traditional rehab would have ended up failing him. Max, who is known as Iowa's most famous dad, told me that he had landed from a jump while playing basketball and immediately felt sharp heel pain. The pain was a 9 out of 10 for the first couple days after the injury. He had no major history of heel or foot issues or a foot injury. In the days leading up to this most recent injury, he had not had any heel pain, no foot pain, nothing had been bothering him in his lower extremity. At the time that we had talked, he was getting quite a bit of pain from walking or with any heel strike activities. He was also getting some soreness in the lateral part of his arch and also from certain big toe movements as well, and whenever he would stretch out his arch. Most providers would have just told Max to play it safe and rest 3 weeks. But Max was just about to try out for the TBT, and a misdiagnosis or an overly cautious diagnosis could have completely ruined that opportunity for him. Also, that advice can actually raise your risk of injury later on, because when you rest, your chronic workloads drop, which means your tissue capacity and your physical readiness take a hit. And Max just played in a basketball tournament in which he hosted a couple weeks ago, where he played 6 or 7 games in just 2 days. So if he had just received overly cautious advice from someone who really didn't understand his sport or his goals, then he would have not have been able to compete for 6 or 7 games at the ability that he was able to in his most recent tournament that he hosted. To be clear, I would have told Max to rest longer if I truly thought his injury called for it. But once I understood the way he got injured, where his symptoms were located, how his symptoms had progressed since the injury, and the movements that he could perform, it became clear that this injury did not need major rest. Besides avoiding major rest, what else did I recommend to Max for his heel injury? I recommended some light foot, toe, and ankle exercises, things like isometrics and stretches and just light movements. I recommended for him to work on his hips and his pelvis, both mobility and stability. The recommendations I gave him weren't just about his heel. Injuries like this often cause compensations because of the way that we change how we walk, we change how we move, we change how we jump or run. And so it can cause injuries in the opposite hip or the opposite foot or knee or something going on with the pelvis if we don't manage this correctly. Shout out to Max for trusting me. He's a great guy. I enjoyed talking to him and I love everything he's doing for the sport of basketball. If you're a hooper dealing with aches and pains, this is what I do. I help players get back on the court and not be stuck on the sidelines. Make sure to follow for movement or injury tips if you're an athlete or a hooper like Max.